And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Map number 2 on the card for us here. 9Z taking on Imperial, and it's Imperial after a dominant map number 1. Take 9Z's map pick a nuke, and now, of course, Imperial head onto their own with a wealth of confidence in the bells. They're flipping the way over towards that B site early in the charge. In a matter of seconds, that B site completely cleared. It's a 5-on-5 retake.
Bearing in mind, of course, this was the map yesterday that Imperial won, and quite handedly at that. It was a 16-9. The half went 8-7 in favor of Imperial, and okay, we're shaping up to have the exact same thing all over again, I guess.
Yeah, Fallen makes it a 3K, all down to 1. And DGT, nothing he can do from that sort of position. And a 1 versus 5, it's a flawless pistol round for Imperial. And off the back of a dominant finish to map number 1, they make it a dominant start to map number 2. With a flawless pistol under their belt. First round on the T side is exactly what Imperial needed. And of course, it's a statement. For 9Z, their confidence is probably at an all-time low right about now.
Not often that we see a T-sided team win the pistol so freaking handedly, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that was very dominant. Now we're going to see them going for that little bit of that banana control, but I do like that they've defaulted quite nicely across the map here. Bomb hasn't really chosen a side just yet, despite the fact that they've only won 1 round and weaponry decent, but not perfect. They're still playing it safe, and you can see, I mean, this is a team that clearly has this map completely waxed.
They know exactly what they're doing, don't they? And they're being so far so good. And UMP, may I say, damage down towards like some Max. He shot the 13 points of HP. Very fortunate to stay alive in that sort of scenario. And as we stand, I mean, it's safe to say that if you look towards 9Z, they're in a troublesome spot. They've gone for a force buy here with the Eagles, the 1 MP9, and a small amount of utility. And it's their be-all and end-all. Their high-risk, high-reward buy to try and turn the tides, to force into towards the second round, fails to convert into a double eco, and it's a very awkward start towards map number 2, which already hasn't been the easiest of starts. Now, bits of utility used both ways, but for the CT side, it's a little bit on the smaller side for them. They've got 1 smoke, which is now being used, leaving them with no utility. The Eagles, 1 MP9 to try and deny, but the Eagle at range of Lucan will be good for the first. Fallen, good to Fallen, and that's exactly the opener that CT side needed.
What I find so funny is how somehow DGT, so DGT rotates back around to the B site, and it just, like, they keep him distracted for so ridiculously long. And then eventually the rotation comes through from Imperial to go and get the plant down. They get it down fairly easy, but this retake is so strong. The push out of Banana to create that pincer maneuver, and Imperial's not expecting the push to come up from mid. So yeah, nice little retake there.
That's actually done. It's all off the back of their opening kill. Lucan finds the first with the Deagle, and that's where, you know, as we stand, 9Z, all they had to do was the oh-so-simple thing of just take a step back, give up a lot of the space over towards Imperial, and force them into those awkward chokeholds where the trade game is always going to favour 9Z. It's a very, very nice round for them to take in their favour. And the change they were needing to be able to get their way back in towards Inferno, because lose that with that awkward buy, they were in for kind of 3-4 rounds going the way of Imperial before they could respond. This time out, Lucan can pick up the AWP, try and make something work with it, but not going to be the case, and it's a low buy in return for Imperial.
Nice little bit of util usage there. 9Z really did need to win that round, and I mean, they've already got the AWP in their hands, so a ton of power here on round 3. And not even a glass cannon, you know, he managed to hold on to some armor as well, so set up quite nicely. All right, there's obviously the trade-off. They don't have as much utility as they would have wanted, but they know they have so much more than Imperial. Imperial coming into this, they have to take every engagement with no assistance whatsoever. No smokes, no flashes, no nothing. Puts them in a really dangerous spot. Have to play this perfectly if they're going to start bringing it back in their own favor.
And of course, one of the things, as we said, it's easier than done. Utility holding, waiting, looking for a boost potentially to try and find the opener. Butting towards bracket, Rux makes it a double. Spamming from above, they know there's 2 players here. Nade could be healthy as well. And FNX left on 22. He's fortunate to still be alive over towards apartments. For the likes of David, I mean, he himself is not even in the most comfortable of situations, but in a 5 versus 3, a scenario in which 9Z, they should be able to convert this one out. I think potentially the head might have been spotted there both ways. Hence why David rotating his way back forward. Tap over towards the B side. Both could line up. Damage dealt both ways. Max makes it a double. It's all down to 1. Down he falls. David cleans things up. And that's 9Z. 2-1 lead. Well, so far, so good. As we stand, it's safe to say now that things have been looking all the more prevalent over towards 9Z off the back of that. What a nice little turnaround. The low buy that Eagles working in their favour, and now the full buy looking very prevalent for them. We mentioned that AWP being something which could turn the tide, and that's exactly what we're seeing. Lucan on 5 kills already. He stepped up to the fray, and finally for Imperial, we see that full buy coming out in return, but no orb to challenge Lucan just of yet.
And David taking so much early damage there. And it's just the spray down as well. I mean, they have no idea that they've connected so heavily. And he's down to like 10 HP. And they just keep spraying. Oh my goodness. He manages to survive, thankfully, get out of dodge. But it's a lot of very early damage taken down. Now, the A site is still somewhat heavily defended. Imperial kind of postured that way a little bit. Bomb starts to make its way over, and again, boltz looking to kind of make some noise over towards banana, catch out a potential rotation, because that is what cost him dearly a couple rounds back, and I don't want to see a repeat of that. So if somebody starts to kind of rotate that way around, he'll be able to spot them out, or potentially give over information that, hey, B is looking like a good place to go. Bomb's actually started making its way there anyway.
Big chunk tonight is going to come forward. VINI falls initially. We mentioned that Lucan with the AWP being something which could turn the tides, and still continuing to plow on forward. Opening kill goes the way the CTs. 9Z looking to knock on the door of round number 3. And a boost to come forward to try and catch someone off guard. The question is, Roxy so far forward with even assume it. The sound cues with boltz coming alive, finding one. Well, there's the AWP of Lucan finding one more. 4 vs 2 bomb to be planted. And FNX just causing a nuisance over towards A, but of course, it does leave Fallen isolated over towards that B side, and if he falls, Fallen, then in a tough 1 vs 4.
Tough to say the very least. I think like a 1 vs 4 or a 2 vs 4, that's going to be tough in any scenario. And you look at this, and they're in a rough spot. They're so separated from one another. They have to kind of rotate around a little bit. FNX has to meet back up, but cannot make it happen. Eventually, Fallen's going to go down. And he's the last player left alive. He has to somehow stop this defuse from coming through. Gets 1, but David is able to shut that one down. That's another round going over in favor of 9Z. I mean, this is the CT side. We kind of expect them to do well, but I suppose I, at the very least, was expecting a bit more out of Imperial's T side.
No, agreed massively. I mean, so far, what was a really good start as well for Imperial in terms of finding that pistol round flawlessly. A statement made, we said, a real confidence booster, especially after the already high confidence they had coming off the back of a 16-6 map number 1 on their opponent's map pick. It was looking potentially like it should have been a comfortable start towards the map, and then who knows what was going to happen off the back of that. But yeah, I mean, not really being the best of resurgences. And of course, looking forward for Imperial, another round which a full buy is pulled off, but not converted, and it leaves them with a bit of a dire economic situation. The upgraded pistols will come through, but it's not really the full buy that they're looking for. Fallen still unable to pick up an AWP to try and challenge that Lucan, and Lucan's been causing issues. We already mentioned him picking up the big green and being, again, a real difference maker to the success that 9Z are starting to find, and him picking up so early as well in towards this first half has been kind of where a lot of that space is being created, and that's exactly what we see. Now, attack portal has come forward from 9Z, finish, and they've got a sort of a rough understanding of how they want to play the CT side, and nade damage over towards Max. He's fortunate to stay alive.
Take a moment to just think about, because obviously with this being an anti-eco, we know how this should go on paper. So we'll just take a moment. We look back at what happened on Inferno yesterday. Was it 8-7 half in favor of Imperial?
Yes.
You're kind of expecting them to start to make a bit of a resurgence sometime soon if we're going to see that replicated, or if we're going to see, a slightly more dominant display like what we had seen on Nuke. Now, of course, in this round, as we mentioned, they're on a bit of an eco. It's not ideal, but, as they start to get a little bit more cash, they have lost a couple rounds in a row here, so they're going to have that little bit of extra in the tank into the next round, but it's still not going to be perfect.
Nah, David stepping up for a 3k as well. The pistols we question whether it'll cause problems. They do at the very least find 3 kills, which I think is, you know, better than nothing. It's a silver lining in a bad situation. But if we're looking at the situation, it's 9-0 with a 3-round lead, leading 4-1, and Imperial again still yet to get a bomb down. But of course, this time a full buy going forward. And the most important thing, Fallen picking up the AWP. Now can the godfather of Brazilian CS shut down Lucan? That's the big question.
All right, we got the cash, we got the weapons in hand. You have an opportunity to make it happen. Okay, they're sticking to the same kind of default. I do like that they kind of stick to the. Usually, I don't like the same thing over and over again, but I feel like when you have a good default that gets you a ton of early information, it's a good thing to have. If foe loses a little bit of life or a little bit of HP very early on in the round, which isn't ideal. But it's a nice little way of taking some map control here. The question is, are they expecting max? And, well, yes, I guess they are. Yeah,
well, VINI definitely was. Nice kill from him to open things up. Finds that man advantage. And now Rock is so isolated over towards his B site. A smoke in his face at the very least gives him some security to rotate back over towards Church. Go for that Coffin's play, but they potentially could even just go for contact play here. Nade will come in. Damage Delta was falling on boltz, but they're still potentially going to flood their way forward momentarily. The boost over towards Plant Pot. VINI somewhat safe security, and VINI makes it a second entry for him. Nade will come in, and Rox is down to 50 points of HP. Forge to stay alive. And with David falling, this site becoming very barren. The bombs we plant over towards B, potentially even the CT side just going for a save call, and I think they are.
Yeah, it makes the most sense. Something so small as a little boost up on Banana to get that first kill onto Max, and that opens up a lot of space for them. Overrun the site, get David down, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that there's usually a heavier presence from 9Z towards the A site. That seems to be kind of the order of the day. And so they kind of realize B is going to be slightly less protected, and once they've got that first kill, well, they know that they're at a massive numbers advantage, and it's very easy to take advantage of that. Okay, unfortunately, they do lose FNX, who was kind of chilling out towards Apps, looking to maybe get a kill on the cross, but all things considered, they definitely come up ahead in this. They hold on to the AWP. They hang on to 3 of those AKs. They win out the round. So they're going to be sitting pretty coming into this one. It's 9Z now who find themselves in a slightly more rough patch. They're still able to buy in here, and they can invest quite a bit into it. But slowly but surely, that economic buffer that we like to talk about is getting chipped away at. I mean, of course, Lucan sitting pretty here. He's managed to hold on to the AWP for a little while now, so he's good. But as the rest of the players' finances start to dwindle, you're never going to find yourself in a position where you can buy for 2 of your teammates, right?
No,
so
no, of course.
You need to make sure that everyone is maintaining somewhat of a buffer.
And this is where as well we talk about, oh, I'll get back to that in a second, in fact. Nice shot coming in from Luke, and the leg, though, is the big difference maker. And Fur makes an opener, swinging in, Fur makes it 2 before David trades. And now, of course, the tables have turned. We've spoken about it kind of yesterday when MIBR did exactly the same against 9Z, and this is now what we're seeing for Imperial in exactly the same fashion. Davido stepping up, good full one, full blind rocks, Forge to stay alive. He falls away just the right amount of time for Natty Molly to come forward to just deny that space over towards that B site. Now they make their way on towards the B site. Bomb plant, host plant to be set up if it can, but the only problem is look towards the T side. There's no utility for them to work with. They have to hold this dry, and as the smoke starts to dissipate, that's where Imperial's hold becomes all the more tougher. Or so I say, as Fallen steps up, drops them, rotating towards Banana, and Rox uses one of the last flashes he's got left. boltz deletes him out of the round. It's all down to one man. David with a AWP, 1 versus 3. And so I think it's safe to say that's only going to find a consolation kill. That's what he does find.
And it's so funny because we spoke a little while ago about lackluster post plants, particularly in the matches that we saw yesterday. But Imperial seemed to have it somewhat waxed. And shame, David going to be holding on to that AWP here. So at least Lucan's still going to have that in his back pocket, and he's going to be able to buy for 1 of his teammates. So they'll have a little bit of firepower into this next round. But it is nice to see. I mean, I think that a lot of that plays into what Imperial had available, right? So again, it's that slightly less guarded B site. They open it up, they get themselves in. 1 player is holding on, and I mean, he's not going to be able to stall against 3 people with limited utility, because at that point, so much has already been used. You pointed it out. So he uses the 1 flash he has available to swing out, but he gets taken down. Fallen is watching a different angle, because obviously, you know, the last players are going to be watching different angles. You don't want to be caught off guard. He gets the next kill, and at that point, well, David is forced to save. So this was a really good setup from Imperial. And again, it's one of those cases where they get a nice early pick-off and they're able to capitalize on that perfectly.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think they did a really good job of doing so. Now, as the Molotovs come forward, the cross back over towards that B site will become a problem. You see Fallen holding the AWP, Flash to come over, nice open flash as well, forces the AWP off the angle. Fallen can continue to push forward if he wants to. But, I mean, it's a slightly risky play at that. Swinging in towards Max, a 1-for-1 trade. Fallen, the AWP is stepping alive. Nade will come in, seconds out of Arting, doesn't quite connect. As Max gonna fall back on towards that site, but once again, isolated all alone. And this is a very tough hold against the flooding influx of Seaside players. But it looks like, in fact, they're actually just going to leave boltz here for back over towards the A side and try and slightly outplay and outmaneuver 9Z, but this could overcomplicate things.
Oh, and we have spoken about 9Z trying to overcomplicate things and how difficult it can be to recover when that plan goes awry. So hopefully this works out a little bit better here. We talk about how important it is to take on the unguarded site, but DGT already making the rotation towards, you know, kind of the center, and this is going to make it really easy depending on where they're going to need him. He's going to have a really short rotation. We actually see him heading back towards B because they've called it. They've called it Imperial are most likely moving back over towards that B site. It's less unguarded this time around, and of course Max is going to be there, the stalwart, along with DGT and Fallen. Oh,
unfortunate.
So much for that.
Unfortunate. You know, Fallen tries to double back. I think, you know, at that point it was just a safe call. Keep out of the AWP. That's a really nice hold though, and it goes back to exactly what we said with kind of 9Z yesterday, but Imperial do exactly the same of overcomplicating things. They rotate back over towards the A site, but it's only Max there. For the most part, when you expect a B site hold, unless it's a gamble stack, which with a full buy of 9Z was never really going to be a gamble stack, you can expect at the most 2 players there. They killed the first, so they should assume there's only one, and potentially one player in that long position rotating back over from the A site. So for me, they should have just gone aggressive, tried to play the trade game and done what they can, but they did it prior as well with VINI finding that double opener. Well, they don't repeat, and they pay the price for it. 9Z, keep a 2-round buffer, and 5-3, and they're flooding in towards the AWP. 1-for-1, Falling gonna fall as well as the B steps up, but he's only gonna be able to find that first before boltz trades him out, and Lucan drops him in his fray in a matter of seconds. 2 versus 4. What was looking like Imperial could overwhelm this top A site. Well, FNX has stuck his way forward. They still need to get their way on towards the A side, and they still need to collect that bomb.
This was a great play from 9Z. I love that kind of deeper angle that they were holding, and of course we didn't see a ton of util come out to block off those 50-50 checks, and then we see like the rush through the smoke as well, and as soon as you kind of push through there, you're going to be running into the open arms of Lucan. So this is played really well. Imperial kind of stumbling a little bit in a round where I'm kind of surprised to see that they did. Thankfully for them, FNX is an absolute demon even with a deagle, but oh, is he good for a second? Nah. Now VINI is going to have to try and get some exit frags here. That's probably all he's going to be good for. No way. How do you not know? Oh, that's
unfortunate.
Didn't even realize DGT was there.
Very, very unfortunate. 6-3-9Z on their CT side of their opponent's map pick, doing exactly what Imperial did on Nuke. A very comfortable start from them. And it goes back to what we said about that force buy. That was a turning point, wasn't it? You know, Lucan with a deagle, kickstarting things, and them converting around, which they never even should have competed in. It's led to a real kind of wealth of success going forward for the 9Z side, or Imperials. Their success has been oh so sporadic. Overcomplicated things becoming problematic, and each and every 4-buy not really being converted. And speaking of, a real lack of a 4-buy here, but a Mac 10 could cause an issue. Third, there's exactly that. M4 when it's collected, making the way over towards the B side is Rock to try and deny. Taking damage at range over towards Coffins. Rock's might want to try and play things more passive. And DGT, a laboured spray, gets punished.
This is ridiculous. I mean, Imperial come off the back of a round where they get somewhat punished by the aggression from 9Z. This time around, they turn that in their own favor. They managed to get so much value, but Lucan still holding those AWP angles. He's going to try to keep this competitive. And to be fair, this round shouldn't be competitive. Imperial should not be doing this well on a round where they came in with next to nothing, but they did manage to pick up upgrade to a couple of M4s. That gives them that little bit of extra firepower, and now it's 9Z that find themselves forced to save.
They have to. I mean, as we stand with that AWP, which is such an expensive investment, they can't risk it. And of course, that goes back to just an also simplistic play. Rush B, hold W, go aggressive, and it works in their favor. I like the idea of the flanking towards lower banana, but it wasn't executed right. And the labor spray from DGT gets punished, and in a matter of seconds, it all falls apart. And here's where we stand now of Imperial finding 4, starting to find a bit of momentum in their favor, and starting to put a bit of pressure on towards the CT economy, which originally was looking oh so comfortable. We were speaking about, you know, Lucan, who survived for quite a long time. He was looking like he'd be more than fine, keeping hold of what he's got. But not the case. I mean, you know, you look over towards the CT side, and yeah, full buy comes forward. There's a great full buy at that with a wealth of utility, but that glass floor analogy, ever prevalent. A lost round here means a double eco situation. 9Z more or less forfeiting the lead. And I think Imperial are all too aware of this, hence why we see their attack pulls coming forward. Their first one that they've used, but a good time to use it.
Let's see if it makes any sort of a real difference. As we said before, Imperial looking to try to, at the very least, replicate the scoreline they had yesterday. But ideally, they'd like to have a little bit more of a runaway, you know, a bit more akin to what we saw on that first map. I think that they're doing really well to keep this competitive, though. And given that this is that T side, you don't really expect them to blow the scoreline out of the water. But to create that nice little buffer for yourselves, I mean, you know, if they can get that to the 8-7, 7-8, depending, it would be quite nice. Make sure that they've got a bit more space, a bit more room to breathe when they get in onto the CT side. Now, again, this is a round where they don't have terribly much to work with. It's good, it's decent, but of course not perfect. And 9Z still holding on to that AWP. It's like a lifeline at this point. And to be fair, Lucan has been doing a lot with it. You spoke at length yesterday about the power of just the existence of an AWP, and we're seeing that strength here again.
Oh, it's a 1-for-1 though. The VE coming alive, staying alive as well in behind. DT goes in for support, at least all down to 1. It's boltz on Mac 10 against an AWP and an M4A1S, and it's safe to say DGT is going to clean this one up. That was looking like it could have been around once again in favour of Imperial, but failing to convert the VE in towards that balcony position gifts another round for 9Z, which potentially and probably should have gone the way of Imperial. Another rookie mistake of not clearing such a simple angle. One flashbang, the pop from Apps is all that's necessary to clean it, but doesn't work. And of course, because of it, 3-round lead garnered once again. 9Z looking like they want to push this one to a map 3.
That felt like one of those rounds, like blink and you missed it. It went by so quickly, and yeah, I mean, we talk about these tiny little missteps. At this level, it's not always the egregious mistakes. Of course, those are going to get you, but these players are less likely to make super egregious mistakes. It's usually these really small things that, you know, enemy teams are able to so effortlessly capitalize on.
Sure, yeah.
Now that's a nice little opening as well for 9Z. Max goes quite low there, but they take boltz off the field. They clear out a lot of the aggression in banana, and that gives up a lot of space.
Doesn't indeed. Molotov will come forward as well towards top B. Smoke 2. As far just going to try and slowly, which is way out towards that top mid. The question is, how do they want to play this? It's quite an isolated hold here. Flash coming forward in towards top banana, doesn't spot out VINI, so might even relay a bit of misinformation that no one's making their way here. And that could become problematic, because they're looking like they might double back towards that B site.
What I worry about is that stagnation effect. You know, very often, you lose a player, you have to start making stabilizations, and then you really stall out, slow down, hit the brakes. Now, thankfully for Imperial, there's a huge presence towards A. I mean, even David is really close towards that A site. And okay, he's pretty close to B as well, but it's going to take him a second or two to rotate in. It's really going to come down to Lucan here with this AWP, who's immediately forced off of his angle, and the site is open.
The way forward in a clear boost. FAMAS, a little bit of a spam, not going to find a kill, but damage dealt. Sound Q as well. Lucan holding also passive, waiting for the rotation to come forward. Roxon ready to charge with the FAMAS. As the smoke dissipates, they walk straight in towards VINI. But it's the spray from FNX, which is good for the kill. Lucan staying alive with the AWP. Flash will come over. Will actually catch off that falling, but he's lucky to stay alive. Swinging back round, finds a 1. And it's a 1-for-1 trade. David bringing back to a 2 versus 2. FNX in towards back site. Missed shot with the AWP. Oh, connecting Marseille a second time. Voski doesn't quite connect. VINI, forward stay alive. Opting for the AWP. Might go for the shot through the box. Defuses being held here, and VINI clutches it brilliantly. 1 versus 2. And VINI, similar to what we saw on Nuke, steps up. He loves the pressure and he thrives under it.
I was actually surprised to see him pick up that AWP. I was questioning it. I wasn't sure that he would actually be able to clutch that one out. But that kerfuffle in Banana, where you actually see 4 players, 2 on each side, topple over like bowling pins. And of course, a lot of that has to do with, at that point, you've got nothing really to deny any sort of sideline there. You know, you don't have a smoke or anything to that effect. You don't have something to push the advancing players back, and puts you in a really rough spot. Somehow Imperial, of course, do come out on top. They come out the better of it, because again, it's some serious heroics from VINI there. But 9Z back down onto pistols, back down onto USPs. A little bit of chip damage there, but it's spotted out. They knew the players there, and VINI, well, he's going to get the cleanup. He ends the round and he starts the next.
At the very least, with DGT, he can pick us off an AK-47. A slight little silver lining, and we've already mentioned about 9Z converting a pistol round in their favour. If they're able to do it again, I think this is where Imperial needs to start asking a lot of very serious questions. Swinging back out, damage dealt, but the trade's coming forward. A 1 versus 2, but it's all in the hands of Max. AK-47. One of the AWPs taking damage as well. And 9Z, even though they came with just USPs, it's down to just 2. They've made it expensive. Even if Max falls here, the round goes in favour of Imperial 5-6. They can take a lot of positives from this, because they have caused a lot of issues over towards the side of Imperial. Now Max rotated way forward, spotting out 1, but boltz just a little bit quicker on the reactionary shot there, and he will drop him out of the fray. But yeah, I mean, as I was saying, to find 3 out of 5 kills there with just USPSs, I mean, they can take some real positives from that. 9Z never should be able to get away with as much damage as they dealt. And of course, once you look over towards Imperial's economy, yes, they can make up full buys, but it's that glass floor ever prevalent.
Yeah, I mean, it's done enough to potentially... Okay, the match is paused now, so there's likely going to be VINI buying up for Fallen there, but they're going to have to sacrifice a little bit of that util, very likely. Either that or they sacrifice the weapon for Fallen. Oh, no, there you go. Okay, into the AWP. I mean, they're going for some serious firepower here. They are going to have to sacrifice a little bit of that util for it, but I think it works out, because you're not sacrificing terribly much, and you know that you're getting that extra bit of oomph for Fallen. And knowing that 9Z, despite the fact that they did win that round, their economy's still not great. I mean, they come into this round with not the AWP, unfortunately. You can see Lucan is looking to potentially have that for the last round and a half if possible, and so at a very low spend there, but they're going to have to win this round if they're going to want to be able to buy into that. If they don't win this round, their economy is still very much in a shambles.
Do or die, both ways, isn't it? I mean, penultimate round of the half, winner of this more or less guarantees a win at the half. I mean, Imperial take it, they can probably find 8 because 9Z will be left in their economy, and vice versa. 9Z win this one, they win the half. Guarantee 8, potentially looking for 9 as well. So a very important round to see who has the ever so slight advantage going forward, and not a bad start for Fur either. DGT gonna fall, we mentioned how important he has been, and that's a comfortable kill for them to find. And a bit of tag damage as well. Luke, and unfortunate to even be tagged on the slight cross forward. Didn't even make any noise. It was just a little bit of a spray and pray, but you take those. No, man advantage for Imperial. All looking good, and a minute to work with.
Only 4 players left here, and it has to be a 2-2 split for 9Z, since they, you know, lost DGT. Makes it a lot easier for Imperial now. Whichever site that they choose, they do have the advantage. VINI spotted out 1, so they know where at least one of those players is. Now that they have that info, they can start to... Hey, there we go. Spray through the smoke. That gets to the next kill of the round.
Rocks, only get for 1. Spraying through the smoke. Damage dealt for next Fortress. They are alive, but he will be able to get this bomb planted now. And with the 2-man advantage, 9Z are going to make the very smart call to just fall away. We mentioned that glass floor being below them. Lose this round, lose your players. It's no buy-in towards the 15th and final. Hence why we see the very smart call just to fall away. Keep hold of those M4 and potentially go for an exit frag, but even that would be slightly risky. Lose any of these weapons here, and it might even just be a one-hero rifle round for them. That's not what they want. As we mentioned, you know, for Imperial winning this round, they find 7, and it gives them the massive advantage to take the lead at the half.
I think it's crazy how much random spray damage through smokes has been happening in this game. in this
Yeah.
particular series. Because, like, of course it can happen. It comes down to predictive fire. You know when a smoke goes down, it's a very good chance somebody's pushing into it. So you just kind of spray through and hope that you get a kill. If not, you do a ton of damage and somebody can do the cleanup later. It's common. But I think that to have that much damage taken so consistently isn't great. Now, thankfully, the FNX and Fur, they do manage to survive despite taking a ton of damage there. They've finally evened out the scoreline. We mentioned about how yesterday it came to an 8-7 in favor of Imperial, and it's looking like it may go that way again. But 9Z have been doing really well to consistently just keep chipping away. And I think now that's going to be the big thing, to just kind of bridge the gap between chipping away and actually getting those eliminations.
Agreed.
They're not completely out of the running here in this round, though. We have seen some very interesting low buy eco rounds. Hopefully 9Z will be able to snag something through on this one. Unfortunately, Rox is only going to have a deagle. Again, they had to sacrifice a little bit of weaponry to ensure that they had the utility available to try to slow this down. This round is going to be all about trying to isolate those battles. Don't allow Imperial to rush into you and kind of mow you down with like 2 or 3 players. Isolate them, throw up some of those smokes, push them off of their angles, make it a 1v1 or even a 2v1 in your favor so that you can start to slowly chip away at their forces and stop their push from coming through.
Of course. I mean, slower take both ways. I mean, for Imperial, they're trying to play things methodical, but that actually works right into the hands of Luke, and he finds the first. VINI gonna fall, gets caught off guard by the flashbang. Spamming through the smoke, though, just about able to fall away towards brackets. They could be tempted by a wrap back over towards the B side, but it'll be risky at that as Fallen finds one of his own. The B gonna drop. Bolt adding to his tally as Lucan falls as well, but that's the bomb dropped on towards the side. DGT with FAMAS in hand. The question, do they clear third? No, they don't. Good for the first. Will he expect the second? Well, now he spots him. Does not matter. Rock stones him with an eagle in a matter of seconds. Now it's 2 versus 2. We were saying it was looking like Imperial could flood the way towards the site, but they made it tough for themselves. But it's an 8-7 half in favour of Imperial. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you after the break. That's exactly what they were looking for. Makes it a second as well. With a 2-man advantage, may I say. They're already showing signs of what we saw in the first plus round. They made it a 5-0 flawless one. The question is, can they do it on the CT side? Didn't gonna come forward towards FNX, down towards Banana. But in a 2 versus 5 situation, I think 9Z's hopes are looking a little bit slim, and Luke can step up to the fray. Good for the first, but the bomb dropped in a less than opportune position. Oh, unfair.
Jeez. Couple of solid flashes coming down through Banana there. Very easy for Imperial players to capitalize on, get those first few kills. And you see the push coming through from the B or from the A side through mid as well. So they create this kind of pincer. And then you're just kind of holding really common angles and pre-firing away, checking to see if somebody's going to peek through there, and they just kind of like keep tapping away. A lot of suppressive fire makes it really difficult for 9Z to move, and then when they eventually find their way back up Banana, there's Imperial waiting for them at the top. I mean, yeah, really solid first round of this half, and like you said, very akin to what we saw in the first half. But what we did see in the first half as well is Imperial win that first round, and then somehow 9Z win the second. We'll see if they can replicate that now. They've brought up to like 4 Tech 9s and a Deagle, and Rock has been pretty damn solid on that Deagle throughout this series, so maybe they can turn this back in their favor.
Oh, Spam gonna go forward. Fur looking for 3. First 2 come his way easily. Pistol whipping delivers. Boltz will catch one of his own as David falls with a HE grenade in a matter of seconds. Well, it's Max all alone. Tech 9. And no hope in hell to find even a single kill. That's Imperial up to double digits. And what a way to do so. Aggressive in towards Banana, and they just mow them down. The low buy of 9Z put right back in their face, and of course, unfortunately for them, with that being somewhat of a force, it's a double eco situation. No economy to be brought in towards round number 18, and Imperial can start pulling away in quite the emphatic fashion. Potentially should even be 11th here.
Part of that is that it's literally a repeat of the first round. A few flashes out on Banana, somebody swings out and mows through the 9Z players. I don't know, it feels like they're going through Banana with so little util, and they're just getting chunked away. Here it is again. I mean, they didn't even have the use of the flashes this time. They have angles, and they shoot. Okay, to be fair, 9Z had nothing in the tank. So it's not, they didn't have smokes, they didn't have flashes. But it's just 3 rounds in a row of 9Z getting deleted on Banana.
Yeah, exactly that. On a similar freight, in towards round 18, we mentioned it wasn't really too much of a buy for 9Z, and the Eagle is all they've got left in it. Lucan's been good for the first, but more or less should be all he does. Fine, FNX going hunting into a second mid. The MP9 at range shuts things down. Imperial with 4 remaining alive find their 11th, and are now starting to do what we hoped they would have done at the start of that first half. We mentioned with a pistol round in their belts to kickstart their T side, would have hoped for a kind of a wealth of success following it. Failed to convert the force buy, and they lost a lot of momentum early in towards the second half, and it took a while for them to find it once again. This time out about, they're not taking any chances. They've been so aggressive, cutting out a lot of the space that 9Z are hoping to find, and because of it, getting around to the board, 11-7. Attack pause used by 9Z, and I think probably a smart time to use it, as it is their first full buy.
So the first round is obviously the pistol. That doesn't go well. The second round is a bit of a force, and they try the same thing, and they get shut down. Then we come into the third round, and it's a pistol. So it's somewhat of one of those throwaway rounds. This is the important one. This is the round where we need to see some sort of a change, because if they just keep rushing down Madonna, I mean, Fallen has an AWP now, and if he's chilling on the B side towards the back there and just holding that angle, it's probably going to be a bloodbath. So I need to see a little bit better utilization of, you know, the smokes and flashes, because it didn't really work out the first couple of rounds. And then I need to see possibly a change in direction, as we're seeing a little bit more of a, maybe not a posturing, but there is some presence towards the A site here as they look to gather a little bit more of that information. And immediately, I mean, we see they've slowed down their pacing a lot here as well. They're drawing out some of that util.
Bit of damage coming forward as well. Boltz, he's quite fortunate not to be caught in transition. They dropped the 40 points of HP. Just going to take a step back over towards Coffins. Fer going to replace the position he was sitting in, but this could become problematic, especially with Boltz falling. In comes the smokes as well. Molotov in towards front hand side of sight. Just wants to deny that space. Good swing with the flash though. Fer good for one. Make 10 a second. Bomb dropped. Flash will catch him off guard, but he's done his job. FNX finding one of his own, and this now leaves it all down to 2. Make that one as Fallen's orb comes alive, and he doubles it down to clean up the round. 12 in favor of Imperial. 9Z, their first full buy, shot right back in their face.
Imperial's utility usage has been exceptional. They noticed that 9Z are playing a slower game. They're baiting out a little bit of utility. They're forced to pull back a little bit as some util comes out their way. The smoke comes out, so there's a counter flash that comes through, and on the swing he's able to get 2 kills. I mean, it's ridiculous that he's able to get that much value out of it. And then Fallen, of course, comes back. He's there to provide backup, and he just helps them mow down the last couple of players because there's not much to use. I mean, this has been clinical from Imperial. 9Z just struggling to find anywhere, any sort of an opening.
What about start either? One apiece. MP9 of VINI has been causing some problems. He had a bit of a slow first half, but got a bit of form in towards a second. It's risky for boltz to weaponless run his way forward. M4AOS collected though, and he finds rocks. The low buy of 9Z. They converted it in the second round of this entire map. But in round number 20, not quite the same. Looking to find one more, and boltz do exactly that. Bomb dropped. Making it a triple. David, all alone, Deagle in hand. Damage could be dealt, but that's all he's going to find. Boltz, 4K to his name, 4 remain alive, and Imperial go 3 rounds from taking not only the map, but the series, and joining MIBR in that grand final.
Wow, I didn't expect this to be so one-sided on the second half. Now, there's still a chance for 9Z to bring it back. We have to bear in mind that we had the exact same half that we saw the last time these two teams came up against one another, was the 8-7 in favor of Imperial. And I believe that the map ended on a 16-9. 9Z, I'm really hoping that they can improve that and not have it end here at a 7. Unfortunately, it's not the full loadout that they would have wanted coming into this round, but they faked a bit of utility over onto Banana. Now they're pushing over towards the A site. They've given themselves a lot of ground, but Fallen is the absolute gatekeeper.
Stunning shot from the Godfather, looking to find more. FNX coming in for support as well. Nade will come in. Roxul drop out of the fray. Lucan low on HP. DGT now on 0 as VINI spams through the smoke and delivers, leaving it all down to 2. It looked like it could be another flawless round, or I spoke too soon. Lucan only good for that first. VINI will trade him out. Another round where 9Z pick up a full buy and cannot convert a thing. Another round where 9Z should have been able to do a lot more, but they only find themselves 1 kill. And Imperial are really starting to knock on the door of that grand finals now.
Well, the thing pop up is FNX has survived 7 rounds without dying. That's literally a third of this map in like a row where he just hasn't died. That's pretty impressive.
I gotta give it to him.
Yeah, you know, staying alive is one of the most important things that you can do for your team. If you're dead, you're absolutely no use to them. So stay alive, keep that money rolling in. And speaking of Fallen, well, the whole of Imperial, I mean, they are so stacked with cash right now. They've already gotten themselves an early pickoff because of a ridiculously deep angle down Banana. 9Z, I don't know, my hopes are kind of dwindling.
Unfortunately, I'm going to have to agree with you there. I think this looking a little bit unlikely, so I'm going to come forward. boltz just needs to play a little bit more passive. Buy some time for that rotation to come in. He's trying to deny entry in towards the side, but a smoke in his face makes it tougher. Who's going to come forward? Fallen, no scope, delivers towards David. VINI from above finds one more, and this is now becoming dire for the T side. Another round in which they get them going towards the site, but are struggling to find anything and Fallen at range with the AWP. Looking for the third, won't be able to connect. His DGC's transfer for a second, but boltz there to clean up. And find a 15 for Imperial. They are 1 round away from not only the map, but the series itself. And Sam, also close to a grand finals.
DGT would have been the one person who could have maybe brought that one back, but unfortunately, just way too much happening there. Too chaotic. Not able to bring that back. Match point here, as you said. Really surprising result, I think. And 9Z have struggled. I mean, they've fought tooth and nail to get to this point. And unfortunately, with that first pickoff, that could be the curtain falling on their time here in the IEM Dallas qualifiers.
Unfortunately, I think you're right. After beating them yesterday in a 3-map affair, this time, they can't even get to the 3rd map, it's looking like, unless they go on the resurgence of the century. We'll have to wait and see. Holding close to personal. Fallen shots from him. David or Fallen. What a lightning fast reaction. Can he find 2? Not going to be the case when FNX him for the trade. Good enough for him to find one more. VINI drops DGT and it's all down to 1 man. One of which they are able to convert. Ladies and gentlemen, 16-7 on their own map pick. And just like that, with a stellar performance from Imperial, they're meeting MIBR in that grand finals. I mean, Sam, what a performance it was from them. You gotta say, stunning.
Yeah, I think, you know, Imperial